Racing pigeons, like all birds, have a respiratory system that is vastly different and much more efficient than that of mammals. At the center of this system are 9 interconnected air sacs that work in coordination with their lungs and hollow bones to provide them with the oxygen needed to fly great distances at high altitudes. There are 5 sets of air sacs in birds, 2 cervical air sacs in the neck area, 2 anterior thoracic air sacs and 2 posterior thoracic air sacs in the chest cavity surrounding the lungs, 2 abdominal air sacs further down towards the belly, and 2 intraclavicular air sacs above the sternum and between the clavicles. Of these, racing pigeons have only 7 functional air sacs, with the intraclavicular air sacs reduced to vestigial structures. The air sacs act as bellows that constantly blow fresh air through the pigeon's respiratory system during both inhalation and exhalation. This cross-current flow of air allows for a continuous replenishment of oxygen while also removing carbon dioxide more efficiently. Let's examine the flow of oxygen through the pigeon in detail. As the pigeon inhales, fresh air passes through the nostrils and mouth into the trachea or windpipe. At its lower end, the trachea divides into 2 bronchi that carry air to the lungs. At the same time, part of the inhaled air fills the posterior and anterior thoracic air sacs as well as the abdominal air sacs. This stored air will provide an oxygen reserve for later use. When the pigeon exhales, the pulmonary air sacs deflate first and force air out of the lungs. The exhaled air carries carbon dioxide and some leftover oxygen through the bronchi and trachea, exiting via the nostrils and mouth. Meanwhile, the air sacs in the bird's abdomen and chest squeeze the fresh stored air through openings in the hollow bones and into air capillaries in the lungs. This oxygenated air mixes vigorously with the pigeon's blood, providing its body tissues with the oxygen needed to function even during rapid breathing cycles. The air then leaves the lungs, gaining carbon dioxide in the process, and enters another set of pipes at the top of the bronchi leading to the cervical and interclavicular air sacs near the pigeon's neck. From here, when the pigeon inhales again, the air in the upper air sacs gets pushed back into the lungs to mix with another charge of fresh oxygen. This efficient system of bellows-like air sacs constantly venting stale air out while circulating freshly oxygenated air into the lungs allows pigeons to take in much more oxygen overall. The air sacs also connect to a network of air capillaries that penetrate a pigeon's hollow bones. This allows oxygen to diffuse directly from the lungs and air sacs into the bones, enabling gas exchange right inside the bones themselves. Up to 36% of oxygen release from the blood may take place in the bone marrow rather than just in the lungs. In essence, a racing pigeon's respiratory system extends way beyond just the lungs to include air spaces inside the bones as well. This gives them a far greater surface area across which oxygen and carbon dioxide can be traded. Racing pigeons need huge volumes of oxygen to generate enough energy to fly at airspeeds over 70 miles per hour. Their 7 air sacs, in coordination with a hyper-efficient lung design and hollow oxygen-exchanging bones, allows them to maintain an incredibly fast respiration rate of over 100 breaths per minute even while racing. This supports the extreme cardiorespiratory demand of long-distance flights. To understand why pigeons can sustain rapid respiration and oxygen circulation rates that would cause mammals to pass out from lack of carbon dioxide removal, we must examine the critical role of air sacs and one-way airflow in birds. Unlike humans who inhale oxygen-rich air and exhale carbon dioxide-laden air using the same tubular passages, birds use an inlet valve, outlet valve kind of system. Thanks to air sacs, fresh oxygen-rich air is constantly blown through tiny tubes saturated by capillary blood on one end while vitiated air exits via separate passages on the other end. This efficient cross-current system of gas exchange enables racing pigeons to take up oxygen on par with elite mammalian athletes despite having much smaller lungs. In fact, certain scoop-like cells called paleopods lining the surface of their air capillaries along with feather-like projections increase the surface area within pigeon lungs by 10 to 15 times versus a similar-sized mammal. Racing pigeons also utilize anatomical adaptations like smaller heart, major blood vessels, and bronchi that are deeply embedded within the thoracic skeleton for streamlining effects that maximize airflow potential. Their lightweight skeleton, accounting for just 7.5% of total body weight versus 11% in mammals, also reduces the energy cost of flight. Ultralight air sacs integrated seamlessly with powerful flight muscles as well as stiff, asymmetrical wings also help generate forward thrust very economically. These anatomical and physiological adaptations evolved over millions of years to make racing pigeons world-class endurance flyers able to cover 500,000 miles in a single long-distance race at sustained speeds over 50 miles per hour by utilizing oxygen far more effectively than any land animal. No wonder pigeons have been cherished as prize racers for thousands of years. Though all birds possess interconnecting air sacs, racing pigeons have specially adapted their respiratory anatomy and physiology even beyond normal songbirds or birds of prey. For example, racing pigeons have proportionately larger hearts and much more capillarization across flight muscles than chickens. They also have the incredible capacity to vary their heart rates from around 175 beats per minute at rest to over 600 beats per minute during sprints. A pigeon's average tidal volume or breathing capacity is just 0.4 liters per breath versus 5 liters for humans. Yet their oxygen extraction ability compared by body weight is about 2.5 times greater than the maximum rate sustainable by elite human athletes. This enormous gas exchange potential forms the foundation of their legendary flight endurance and underlies how carrier pigeons saved thousands of human lives in wartime by proving themselves undefeated by sheer distance alone. Whether racing competitively for sport, conveying vital messages for governments, or escaping predators in the wild, the superior respiratory functions of all 9 air sacs in birds serve critical survival and performance roles. No wonder evolutionary processes established this model of respiratory excellence over 150 million years ago in ancestral bird species. In racing pigeons bred exclusively for speed and efficiency over ultramarathon distances, the ossified, transparent, honeycomb-like network of 7 remaining air sacs stands supreme as the powerhouse driving their unmatched ability to create energy aerobically through oxygen circulation. From providing buoyancy and reducing wing loading for less energy-intensive gliding to ventilating even the tiniest pockets of lung tissue and bone marrow, air sacs confer racing pigeons with the credentials to deserve their reputation as world champion aviators of the natural world. Their mastery of airflow dynamics powered by expandable bellows-like organs truly captures the essence of biological flight in feathered form. So in summary, racing pigeons have 7 functioning air sacs that work synergistically with specialized lungs, vascular networks interfacing directly with hollow avian bones, asymmetrical wing profiles, and energy-efficient musculoskeletal structures to provide extremes of respiratory stamina and efficiency unmatched by any other living creature pound for pound. This intricate, evolutionarily perfected ventilation system centered around air sacs drives the unmatched flight prowess of racing pigeons recognized as the world champions of aerobic endurance since the days of ancient Rome. No man-made aircraft built so far comes remotely close to the fuel efficiency, range, and maneuverability of these avian athletes in fully abusing wind and air currents to outperform any challenger over distances measured in hundreds or even thousands of miles at a stretch. Get my main racing system, just email me direct. I'm an experienced ex-pigeon racer from England, and I can offer valuable insights and guidance on all aspects of pigeon racing, from breeding to racing. During my racing days, I managed a small team of no more than 70 pigeons, including stock, young birds, and old birds. It was not uncommon for me to send as few as 6 birds to a race and still secure the top 3 positions out of up to 2,500 pigeons in my club and federation. My race distances typically ranged up to 300 miles, and I consistently achieved top 5 placements in my club. My expertise extends to the art of selecting excellent breeders, including evaluating pigeons based on their eye-sign characteristics. I firmly believe that true champions can only be bred from top-quality stock, and I can guide you in identifying and acquiring such pigeons. I understand that many pigeons for sale are advertised based on their lineage or pedigree, but I emphasize the importance of assessing the bird itself rather than relying solely on paperwork. As part of my offer, I invite you to share photos of your pigeons, including their eye-sign and wing characteristics. I'll provide you with free advice on racing and breeding based on my extensive experience and knowledge. Additionally, I will share auction links to high-quality breeding birds that have the potential to produce winners in your loft. Here's what you can expect to receive from me. A comprehensive Word document containing valuable insights and strategies for successful pigeon racing, including specific racing methods for both old and young birds, as well as general advice. Private YouTube videos sent to your email, covering various aspects of pigeon racing, from breeding to race preparation. Detailed recommendations on supplements and additives to add to your pigeon's drinking water, with scientific evidence supporting their effectiveness. Similar products are used by professional athletes and racehorses to enhance performance. Assurance that your pigeons will race home faster, provided that you have quality birds to begin with.